backwards, a day from now, an hour from now, a week, a year, a decade from now. Follow me on Twitter, and I'm not kidding. I sleep very little, so I'd be more than happy to answer you, mostly almost day and night. Part of that sleeping is because I have a 2-year-old and another one on the way, so I am up a lot during the night, and I always check my phone. I don't know why. I probably shouldn't. But I will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Yeah. Mine's diamond, because it's German, so the I is.
40 years ago.
You went to a garden spot?
40 years ago.
No way.
How long have you taught there?
I've only taught there 5 years. I'm in my 16th year of teaching, but I taught there.
I think my nephews are all
Remember Mark Kaufman? Because he's been there.
He has.
Yeah.
Conrad Mauer.
Yeah.
You know, I was there.
Yep.
About like half a foot, how long?
Probably. Got about 4 minutes. Feel free, there's candy. The last session apparently was a candy fest, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, I'm just saying it's all down along this side, there's a ton across the back there. You might find some on the floor. They said, please have your people eat it too. I'm not going to take it with me, so. And there's more variety in the back. So who here is like completely drained and wiped out and is like, I can't take one more thing? It's okay, me too. So if you want to take a siesta, go right ahead. I'm not going to blame you, all right? Just load up on sugar and just crash. But the one thing I want to tell everybody is once we get started into this, no matter where you're at, who here has VR? Right now, you have VR like available to you in your classroom. Like a headset with phones in it. Okay, good. Okay, so how many of you have iPads? How many of you have a Chromebook? Okay, and yeah, that's all you need. Yeah, anything that connects to the internet, you can do You can run an expedition, but when you guys leave here today, whether or not you have any of these, or even if you're just not, your school isn't one-to-one, you will be able to walk away from this session with something you can take back and use in your, for writing. Okay? So we're literally gonna take an expedition through how to use VR and Tour Creator and how to connect it all back to global learning, all right? So, I guess we'll get started. We can run in. And then so, again, my name is Adam Guyman, and I'm an instructional technology coach for Eastern Lancaster County School District. And I've taught 16 years, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. I'm a recovering PSSA addict and a burned out teacher. I've taught 10 years in another district, and I was ready to leave the profession. I was loved it. It was my dream job. Got burned out because I was in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades for those 10 years, and all those PSSAs, they wear you down after a while. So my wife said, give it one more shot. Tried it in a different district. I feel better than I did when I first came out of college. So it's possible, but it all starts with one thing: change. My change. By the way, when you move from one district to another district, guess what? It's the same thing. Grass really is just grass on the other side of that fence. The difference is myself on that other side of that fence. So I decided, hey, some of the problems I didn't like in my one district I had here, but I'm going to make some changes. And I told myself I'm going to make one change every year. And I made that promise to myself, and I also stated that problem to my students. And I told them that. And I encouraged them to make one change. Doesn't matter what the change is, just make one change. Why do I say one? Because just like what Gary Brooks this morning said, you're going to say you're going to lose 100 pounds, you're going to, I don't know, meeting that goal is going to be really hard. But if you say you're going to lose 10, you're going to get there. If you can make one change every year, it's not so daunting. So, I want to start off here. The reason why we do this, I don't know if any of you are familiar with socialnomics, but this is really, really interesting. So, just relax. Again, there's sugar in the back. Your legs. Actually, more than that, 80%. Talk about why that is, why they let 13-year-olds born when you did. I show you this. So what does this have to do with VR and AR creation? Well, I'm going to tell you what it has to do with. It has to do with her. And the other hers and hims in your classrooms, right? This is my daughter. This is her 6-month-old picture. She's 2 years old now, and she's definitely ill. Daddy's a whole way across the state, killing me, right? But and we just found out we have another one on the way coming in May. And I show you that because that's her life. That's their life, not our life, right? Because we all grew up before this crap, right? We grew up before everyone walked around on the street doing this all the time. And I want you to know that Google, Apple, Samsung, anything that has a phone, I don't care what company it is right now that has a phone, the number one thing they are putting all of their money into is getting rid of these. What? Imagine the day without these. Yeah. You know where they're going? Anybody know where they're going? Wearables. In fact, if you go to wellbeing.google.com right now, it's a true website, wellbeing.google.com. It is Google's, and Apple has one. I just know that wellbeing.google.com is easy to remember. If you go there, all it is how Google is looking to do away with actual device, you being focused on device, and how you can interact with the world around you again. It's in our shoes. They're putting it in our shoes. They're putting it in diapers. Yeah, that was the hottest thing out at out in the Las Vegas Tech Show this year. They have it in diapers, so you can, I guess, on your app know how wet your son or daughter is in their diaper. I know that nursing homes use it to help save money. So their life is completely different than ours. And it will be. It doesn't matter how we feel about tech. And because you guys are here at this conference, usually that's not the crowd that is usually anti-tech. But it doesn't matter how we feel about it. The point is it's their life. They're going to learn about it. When she is my age, the whole idea of privacy will not be an issue. And for her kids, my grandkids, if I'm lucky enough to have them, right? That definitely will go away. Because the idea that we have a privacy now, they will be a lot more loose with it. During the agrarian, back when we were all on our farms and right before the Industrial Revolution, how many conversations happened in that farmhouse when their kids were going off to go work in these cities and live in these buildings where someone's living above you and below you and on either side of you? And those walls are paper thin, and everyone's going to hear everything you're doing, and nothing will be private anymore. How many of us have ever lived in an apartment or condo, right? Yeah. That's a form of privacy that we're willing, and we don't even think twice about it now. That's going to happen for them. So the whole reason I bring all of this up is because, where are we going to go with this? What is it we're going to do, and what can we do right now? I'm going to tell you, VR is a mode to get us to something bigger and better. It's not just staying in the virtual world. It's going to go to augmented and mixed reality. But you need VR, okay? So literally this was our classroom about 2 or 3 years ago now. And this was literally global learning. And the whole point of doing VR is that you can take kids around the world. I'm an elementary school teacher, and I think it's really cool that our high school sends kids to study abroad stuff. Like they go to Vietnam for 20 some days. They go to Spain for 2 weeks. They go to they go everywhere. They were in Costa Rica. They do all these awesome things. You can't do that with a bunch of 4th graders because it's kind of weird. And who wants to take a bunch of 4th graders overseas, right? So growing up, this was global learning. Literally, you used to slap that globe around, it would spin, and then you go, did anyone ever do that? And you'd be like, that's where I'm going to live. And you always land in the ocean. And then you had the encyclopedia. This was my life. And I'm a millennial. Well, it depends on which one you read. I'm not in that middle area. But all the pictures you see here are of my students using this. And I'm going to tell you something. And my wife will vouch for this. If myself and my buddy Drew, Kelsey over here will vouch for it too. If we can do it, you all can do it. Okay? It's just how you can get the funding. Okay? But you guys are all going to walk away here, no matter where you're at. You're going to be able to walk away with something. Even if you hate technology, you're going to walk away with something you're going to want to use in your classroom. I promise. It's going to help your kids. So, being able to take your kids around the world is pretty awesome. So, how did we get started? We got started by we wanted to truly, Drew and I just thought VR was cool. It was about 5 years ago. We had this idea. It was right when this stuff first came out, and we were like, "That's so cool. Let's get it." So, my wife, she heard us talking, and she's like, "You guys actually have to do something with it." And we're like, "Okay," but we didn't have it. We didn't know what to do with it. So we ended up writing a grant to our local. It was called the Spartan Foundation for Education. So whatever your local ed foundation, go to your PTA, PTO, whatever it is, see if they'll give you money. I know a lot of school districts will do that. Okay? Your school district won't purchase for you. We wrote a grant, but with our local Spartan Foundation, we have to have a global connection. So they'll give you money. The Vietnam trip, the high schoolers, right? They gave them $21,000 to offset some of their costs. They don't care how much money it is. You just have to have a global connection. In the elementary world, that's hard. So I was like, I'm bringing the world to them. So we wrote that, and we connected it through our blogs. We had our fourth graders blogging. You want to talk about writing? And you want to get your kids writing and change your approach to writing? Have your kids start blogging. Actually, it's really easy. Just have them continue doing the writing prompts you're doing now, and instead of hanging it in the hallways. Which, how many of you ever see anybody ever reading that stuff? Like when I see somebody out there reading it, like a kid or always like, "Hey, what are you doing? Get back in class." Don't just reading this. Take that same writing. You don't even, if you're all about handwriting, have a handwriting, take a picture of it, post it on a blog. They can share it with the world. If you want to know how to do that, I can connect you with 5,000 different classes from around the world, and all it is a few clicks. If you're worried about languages, guess what? They write in theirs, we read it in ours. We write in ours, they read it in theirs, and it all happens magically because of the World Wide Web. So we ended up in 1 year connecting our kids with 21 different countries from around the world. If you teach science, social studies, if you teach, if you read a book in your class that has a setting, look for it on Google Expeditions. It's a free app. Download it on your phone. Look at it. Search through it. If you're secondary level, this whole app is written for you. It is not written for us, the elementary. Sorry, folks. We are going to read those words, and please preview it, because you're going to be like, "Whew, man, those words are really tough." It's written for a secondary level. It is but we're used to that. We're used to bringing it all down to our kids' level. So, how do you do that? So we had to create a global connections framework. So we took the current text, because I'm like you guys, I'm used to sitting out here in the seats going, "I'm tired. Dude, you have a lot of energy, and I don't have time anymore," right? I got it. Take something you're reading right now and think about it. Think of the setting, think of the environment. Download the app, see if there's a VR tour you can take your kids on. You want to take it a step further, we had to for our grant. So we had our kids, we read a story about the pink encantados of the Amazon, the pink dolphins of the Amazon. We then went to the Amazon. We turned off all the lights, my buddy and I, jacked up the heat, put the little wet paper towel over top of the thermostat. If you didn't know, if your school's climate controlled, do that. It'll really upset your maintenance guy, but man oh day, your room will get really warm. So we had our room really hot. It was dark. We then put on 24-hour loop of rainforest sounds. And we put the kids in the immersive environment. And there were kids' minds, they were blown. There were some kids that literally thought we took them there. It was hysterical. But that experience was amazing. Now, there's the wow factor, folks. It's like a VCR back in the 80s. Imagine what your administrator walking in. Look at that awesome technology going on there. That's awesome teaching there, and just kept walking, right? How do you take that? How do you go beyond the wow? How do you go and take it further? Well, and how do you connect it to writing? Well, we had our kids create something called a See, Think, Wonder. This is going to be something you can use this, because you can use this at any level. Why? Because it comes from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And it works beautifully with all grades. Kindergarten through Harvard Graduate School of Education, people. And it's literally this. What do you see? What are you thinking? And what are you wondering? Has anyone ever heard of a See, Think, Wonder? Yeah. And here's what those three simple sentences do. They force your students to think more deeply. It, like those higher levels of learning, it forces them to start thinking at that higher level. So, how many times do we actually ask our kids, what is it you're seeing? We're usually telling them, look at that page, right? I want them to give it back to me. What is it you're seeing? What is it you are thinking? And I'm going to tell you, the first few times you're going to do this, it is going to be a mess. Why? Because they aren't used to the first time I did this, they were like, what do you mean what I'm seeing? I see a book. They're like, I see a tree in the VR. No. Okay, what else do you see? We're not used to doing that. It's amazing if you just give it time. It's amazing what they pick up on. And then the last part of that is the wonder. What is it you're wondering? And I'm going to tell you, I thought the I see and the I think was the key. No, folks. You want to get students engaged. You want to empower them to take on their own learning. Let them explore their wonders. Not our wonders, their wonders. You can't imagine a kid asking a question and then allowing them to go search for the answer. That's definitely engaging, and they're passionate about it, and it's high interest for them. But we're always asking them the questions. Let them ask it, and then let them search for it. So, why use Expeditions? And I'm going to show you the See, Think, Wonder. And in this, you can click on the links. It'll automatically, like I have a whole bunch of resources in here. It'll automatically force you to make a download. Like it'll make a copy for you so you have it. Not like you're going to ruin the master. Okay? So why use Expeditions? Well, I just found this in an article, and this link right here will take you to it. But Penn State University study found that students who used immersive virtual reality to accomplish a task did so more than twice as fast as the students who used traditional computer programs. You know how we go to YouTube to fix our ovens or our dryers because you didn't? I mean, I always think it's funny when people are like, well, that's taking someone's job. Well, I guess last 2 weeks ago, I was literally fixing my oven. And I went on YouTube, and instead of paying someone $500 or thousands of dollars for me to go back to school to learn how to fix, my Fisher Paykel oven, to go to and learn how to do that, and or pay the serviceman to do that. I just went on YouTube, 5-minute video, and I bought a $33 part, and it took 20 minutes long. Right? What this does, this whole immersive virtual reality, and the immersive part is as easy as you put on these glasses and you can see out the real world. With immersive virtual reality, what it does is it takes in the real world and adds augmentation to it. Here's where they're using this. They're using this on the battlefield. They're using this to have a world-renowned heart surgeon beam in to a triage doctor right in on the front lines, and on his headset he is seeing that heart surgeon's hand and hearing him. And he is seeing exactly what to do to save that person's life in real time. All the guy needs to do that's there, or lady that needs to do is there, is have some basic understanding and be able to follow directions. And on the other end is a world-renowned surgeon who will, and they are saving lives with this. They're doing, anyone fly in here? They're doing this with jet engines. They're having the people who actually design these jet engines beam in, and when they're going in to inspect them and take a look at them, they're having the people who actually built them, the people who really know it, not the guy that they hired off on a newspaper ad and had him come in, and this other guy's been really tired, he trained them, and maybe he missed some. No, they're having these people do this, and it's working out really well. So with VR, and again, Google Expeditions is like the baby. That's like the adult. There's a progression here. Here's why I like to use it.
You can pick anywhere.
This happens in my classroom.
Where would you want to go?
I would like to go to the moon, Thailand, ancient Greece,
India to Nigeria, my homeland.
one or maybe all of the 7 wonders of the world. When you explore different places, you have the chance to actually learn something new.
You want to be able to
show the kids that there's something outside of your community that you could go to and learn from, and that there's other places you can visit.
All right, so let's do our objective, and we'll talk about the lesson for today.
We're going to take a field trip to Verona, Italy, to see the place where Romeo and Juliet lived.
I'm going to take you on this field trip under the water. Okay, you guys ready? Pick up your devices.
And look in your cardboard.
What is that?
I see a shark.
It allowed us to go somewhere we wouldn't normally be able to go.
Are we in China?
This is the Great Wall of China.
We got to see the place itself, so we could actually understand what she was talking about.
How long would it take to walk the length of the Great Wall of China?
So much more enriching than just showing them a picture or just having them read about it.
This device can actually make us go to places that we've never been before.
It brings the lesson to you, and you have to see it for yourself to believe it.
There's so much other places to see, so you know that it's never going to end.
So, I love using VR in the classroom, but what I love most about VR is its application to every single subject. And its ability to be able to have kids dive and engage in more deeply with that subject. So, I'm going to show you now what we had our students doing with See, Think, Wonder, how we got them, what we put up on the blog, how we got them to connect back to the text. Remember, I told you I'm a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade teacher. I'm a recovering PSSA addict, right? So, of course, what you're about ready to see, you're going to see, and you will see hints of PSSA in here. Why? Because we know admin show in, come up, and you're having too much fun in there. PSSAs are coming up, right? Well, they can have fun and still hit the topics that they need to. So, I'm going to show you mine first. I will hold off on the primary teachers. Any primary teachers in here? Anybody like K to 2? Okay. Good. I'm just going to show you mine. No. We do this with primary teachers as well. But what Drew and I wanted to do was we wanted the kids to take the expedition and not just view it, but we wanted them to connect it to the text, the stories we were reading, or the subjects, like in social studies or science, whatever chapter or unit we were on. So we had the kids write the expedition name here, or type it in. This is a Google Doc. You guys have access to it, and all these boxes expand out. So what do you see? Describe what you see using wow words. When we were doing this in our writing in our writing class at the time, we were working on descriptive words. Those descriptive words, like wow words are just descriptive words, vivid words, however you want to say it. So that's what we worked on. You can change that. I don't care what it is. If you can make it work fit for your classroom, please do. We're asking them, what do you think? As you're experiencing VR, tell your audience in detail what you are thinking using sequence words, first, next, last. Okay, if you're ever, 4th grade, that's huge. And what do you wonder? During your expeditions, what are you wondering about and what questions come to your mind? But that isn't enough. We need to know what they're doing with what they're reading. What did you see in the expedition that you can connect to the text? Be sure to cite specific examples from the expedition and the text. We want them to pull things out from the text and from the expedition. You can do this with anything that you want. You can do it between 2 different stories. You can do it between a movie and a story. How do you think the expedition enhanced your understanding of the text? Be sure to use evidence from the text to support your response. And what do you still wonder after experiencing the expedition and reading the text? And I have here, they're going to write a reflection about that. So I was really proud of these 2 sections because they were really PSSA related. And I thought, over the summer I'll come back to I'll figure out how to tie questions into PSSA related stuff. Now I showed you mine first because if I showed you this, you wouldn't pay attention to mine. I found out a 1st grade teacher was doing the same thing. That she had gotten a set of 10 VR headsets for her classroom in another building, so I got a chance to go down and go talk with her, and she's like, what are you doing with it? So I shared with her our See, Think, Wonder. Little did I know that she used to work in downtown Manhattan in a graphic design company. This is what she took out, what we did, and this is what she made with it, and this is what she had her 1st graders doing. It says, where did you go? What did you see? You had to draw 2 things in these circles. And then they have to write about what they saw. What do you think? I thought. What do you wonder? And they had to write down some questions that they saw from today's expedition. Now, she had them doing just with the expedition because her learners, when they're young, you should not, like below the age of 7, you need to be careful how much time they're actually spending inside the VR. Okay, they can spend some time in it, but not a lot. The eye muscles are actually not fully developed yet. They say until 7 or 8. I don't really know what it is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you that. So if you're really worried about it, the headsets, you could just pop them open. The kids can view them like this. Okay. Kids can go on for a short period of time. So this is what she created. Now I'm going to show you what this does and how this expands out. Pull this in. This is Luke. Luke told me I'm allowed. I have to say this every single time because this is part of Luke's deal with me. I'm allowed to use his first name. Right? I'm allowed to say Luke, this is Luke example, I'm allowed to share it. I can't change anything on it, all I have is view access. And I'm also allowed to use it as long as VR, and these are his words, unless VR becomes passe. Then those were his words, and then I'm not allowed to use it anymore. So if VR becomes passe, I can't use this. Well, I want you guys to pay attention here. Here's his question. I wonder if people wanted to build the pyramid or if they had to. It's a pretty good question from a 9, 10-year-old. Why do they need such a large tomb for one man? Do you know what's starting to happen here? And it took me a while to notice it. That whole empathy, equality, justice type stuff that you want kids to invoke out of kids and get them to really think about, the text to text, text to cell, text to world type stuff. All of that hard stuff. It's starting to come out here. And why is everyone important get a large tomb and not everybody else? Well, we're there. And why didn't the queen share the same tomb as the king? Those are some pretty darn good questions, right? What you guys don't know is that when you open up this Egypt expedition, we were reading The Seeker of Knowledge, and the Seeker of Knowledge is the guy who cracked the hieroglyphs. And when you open up that expedition, you are on the tip of the Great Khufu Pyramid. So you can go to Egypt in real life, and you can feel that and experience that and go through all that and be all hot. But in your classroom, you can do something you can't do in real life. You can be on the tip of that pyramid. I tell the kids, you can't do that in real life. They're like, why not? Someone else did here. I'm like, no, that's from a drone. I said, don't do that in real life, or you're going to prison. And it's not going to be good. So you're out there, and you look out, and there's literally just this huge desert on one side, and then it's just this huge metropolis on the other. It's Cairo. And you're like, it's so weird. You're like, swimming around, you're like, okay, there's nothing. Whoa, huge city, out of nowhere. And down below you see 3 tiny pyramids. So they ask, who is that? Who's that for? And it's for the queen. Well, he asked this question because we did Wonder Wednesdays. And when he asked this question, why didn't the queen share the same tomb as the king? Another student stood up and said, hey, I want to share. Can I share? I want to share something. And I'm like, okay, calm down, share. You can share. What is it you want to say? And this is another girl in my room. And she goes, my mom and I were just watching the NBC Nightly News last night, and they did a story on, and this is not a student who typically would, I'm like, the news. And she goes, but my mom and dad, we were watching that, and they did this story on the women's Olympic ice hockey team, and how they are more decorated than the men's Olympic ice hockey team, but they are not paid the same as them. And I'm sitting there, and again, I do this a lot, and I still get chills. I have chills from top of my head down to my feet right now. Because what happened there, I was like, whoa. You know the whole text to text, text to cell, text to world thing? I tried doing those in college and always failed them because I tried too hard. I'm telling you folks, I did nothing. I let a kid share their wonder. I let a kid write their wonder, and then I allowed him to share it, and then I allowed her to say what she wanted to say. And that whole thing happened. And I'm like, don't move, don't break, because this is amazing. I did nothing. I love, now, you see how deep this is? This is what's so weird about this. Let's go down to the text. After we read the text, still wonder what kind of booby traps are hidden away inside the pyramids and what the tombs look like. Now, this is a reflection of what are you still wondering after reading the text. Now, he went on and did a whole presentation on this on his own. He wanted to do it, so I let him do it. I didn't require it for homework, but he wanted to do it. Now, I got some angry emails from parents on Monday, because parents knew I didn't require homework. But I had a bunch of emails from parents wanting to know why a presentation would be due on Monday, and it was a lot of them. And why they didn't know about it before. So I had to make a lot of phone calls that day and let parents know, no, your son he was excited about learning, and I told him he could, and he could create a presentation. What he did was he went home and all of his buddies got together. They told their parents they had a really important presentation they all had to do, and it was due Monday. And they were really excited to put it together. And parents were like, oh. And I was like, yeah, guys. But that's the power of this. And I'm telling you, I did nothing. And I'm going to tell you, the first few times you do this, it's not going to look like this. Also, you're going to read these. It is the syntax, grammar. I tell them, I don't care. I just want your thoughts out. I can worry about that later. That's not the purpose of this. So you're going to be reading this, and sometimes as I'm reading it, I stumble because I'm like, oh yeah. But it's their thoughts, not mine. So we would share this with kids around the world, and we connected with the classroom in Egypt. And they were sending us all this information. It was so cool. The class was in North Colorado. I think that was the year we're doing that. It was really neat. So here's Maggie's example, and I could show you a bunch of different examples. But I want you to notice right here, because first I thought it was we were reading the Navajo Code Talker story. And that's about the Native American tribe that helped us, really win big, significant portion of the war. And we do rotational learning. And so we have 90-minute ELA classes, so you have 3 groups. You usually take your lowest one first, and then you see your middle one, then you see your high one, right? So you have more time if you need to. So my first group starts up, and the other kids are in collaborative, the other kids are in independent, and the first group goes up, and I'm like, hey guys, open up your books, we're going to read Navajo Code Talkers. And the kid raises his hand and goes, I'm like, yes. I'm thinking, I got 30 minutes, but hey, we got time. What's a Navajo? I'm like, okay, you remember 3rd grade? Yes. Do you remember Native Americans? You guys learned about Native Americans? They're a type of Native American. I'm like, everyone okay? Everyone okay? Because we needed to move. We had things to do. Why? PSSAs are coming. Because I keep forgetting, I love when kids do really cool stuff when you let them, but as a teacher, you're in the bunker, in the foxhole, you're like, PSSAs, right? So we got things we need to do, kids. But with this group, if they have a question, they are not going to get off that question until I answer it. So the next hand goes up. What's World War II? I now have 28 minutes. So I look in the back and I see my VR kit. And I had not planned on using it that day, but boy, I pulled that thing right out. And of course I had to do it, even though the other 2 groups didn't need it. Of course we went around the world 3 times that day. But we started off on the deck. I pulled it out, pulled up World War II, and when that starts up, you're on the deck of the USS Missouri. You go from there to Tuskegee, Alabama. From Tuskegee, Alabama to Normandy, France. From Normandy, France to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. That's a pretty good overview of World War II, the major events, right? Okay. So now you do that 3 times. Didn't even get to what we wanted. Had to read the story again, like the next day. Pushed everything back the whole week. Because that's what's important, right? Now I'm going to show you what happened with this. So Maggie says, first I thought that this time was a sad time in the world's history. Next I thought about all the people who lost their family and how they felt. She's really empathizing with this. And this is just the expedition. Last I thought about what it was like for those families that had someone that was fighting in the war and how they felt. Let's come down here. After reading it, the expedition enhanced my understanding of the text by showing me some ships exploding and how terrible that time was. And then it helped me understand the text. It made me understand how the code talkers felt when they went into war. So she's still in this empathetic part. She said, I still wonder how many people died in those ship explosions and how many people survived during the ship explosions. I want you to see this. I also wonder about the way the Tuskegee Airmen felt after the war was won. Folks, we were talking about the Navajo Code Talkers. The VR is where we went to Tuskegee, Alabama. She made the connection. Because what you guys don't know, and here's the connection she made. The very last paragraph in the Houghton Mifflin Reading Street series, it says it's titled Decades After the War. And it's all about how the Navajo Code Talkers were not recognized for their contributions into World War II. We went to Tuskegee, Alabama. Remember, USS Missouri, Tuskegee, Alabama. It was a blip in the tour. She made the connections. She goes, Mr. Grumman, I know it's not. She did this one on Tuesday. She makes this connection, and Wonder Wednesday was a whole day away, and she was adamant. She's like, Mr. Grumman, I have to do it now. I can't wait for tomorrow. I have to do it now. I have to tell the class something. I was like, okay, calm down, Maggie. Geez, what is this question? So she stands up and she reads her question about wondering about how the Tuskegee Airmen felt. The kids were like, Tuskegee Airmen? What? And she goes, and I was like, boys and girls, remember when we were in Tuskegee, Alabama? And she goes, I looked it up. And did you know that the Tuskegee Airmen were not recognized for decades after the war, just like the Navajo Code Talkers? Guys, I almost cried. That's huge. Those kids were like, what? Like, they all just started searching and finding out this information. And of course, all fourth graders, when they're on something, man, they will burn everything in effigy. Like, they are like angry, they're activists, and they are like, this is terrible. I'm like, I know, it's hysterical. They were feeling this. They were like, it just blew their minds. And I'm sitting there as a teacher going, wow, that's powerful. And the questions start rising. Why didn't they? I don't know. These are tough things. I go, guys, adults have issues with some of these things. Like, we don't have everything figured out. It was a really awesome time. So, See Big Wonders, great way to pull out some great stuff from your kids. I have a whole list of resources of expeditions in here. I have some really cool links. New York Times has a cool VR app for secondary level. It does, you're literally going through your story virtually. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's weird. It's cool, but the whole idea. So this would be more for secondary level, just for them to experience and try to understand and wrap their head around. It's another way for you to read news, but you're living it. And then you have ThingLink and the Franklin Institute. We're down near Philly. Discovery VR, you have Nearpod, all that kind of stuff. But there's AR and there's augmented reality doors. Has anyone ever seen these? These are really cool. Alright. So we're in this guy's house, and then look right there, there's a beach. You're going to get really entering the matrix right now. Now look, it's on a beach. He's looking back at his back there. Yeah, I know. Don't try to figure it out. Your head will. Some of the applications they're looking to do with these portal doors is to take kids again on a virtual on a field trip, but trying to make it more realistic. So where do we go from here? Well, of course, first thing Expedition comes out with, first things teachers say to Google, they're like, can we make these ourselves? And Google was like, no. Why would you want to? We made it for you. It's great. And teachers, were like, no, I want my kids to make it because it's about them. By the way, the first 250 expeditions that were ever created were made by one woman, Katie DeCarlo. That's amazing because these are not easy to make. They're not the simplest things to make, and the first 250 are really they're good. Some of the imagery that they have in there. So just wanted to point that out. I think it's awesome. I'm a hashtag girl dad for life. So I think it's awesome that they, she had to do all that, and she had less than a year to put it together. So Google opened up, enough teachers literally wrote to them. They started creating this. And did anyone take part in the Tour Creator Beta? 2 years ago, they had this challenge where they opened up a Tour Creator Beta, and your school could sign up for it. And what it is you would have access to the program, and your class could make a virtual reality expedition, and then you had a chance to have it published by Google. I took a group of 5th and 6th graders. Theirs was published. I have 5th and 6th graders who are published by Google. It is on the app. Not everyone's stuff gets on the app. We live in New Holland, Pennsylvania, also known as like the largest buffet, Shady Maple, the Amish capital of the world. Everything that can be fried and dunked and fried again, that's where we live. We are, if you know where Lancaster County is, it's got a Susquehanna River on the one side, and it has this little bump out. We're that bump out. We are mostly Amish and Mennonite. We're not. Wow. She's here in secret. No. So we signed up for it, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I had no idea. But I was like, that was my change for the year. I was going to try something new, so we tried it. Folks, what I find is amazing is that Google, one of the 5 largest companies ever in the history of this world, cared enough to publish kids' work. Think about that. The only thing that I got published in school was whatever went on the refrigerator. This is out there forever. They called it New Holland, PA, the Amish way. They took all the pictures, they did all the writing, they added all the images. They did all the work, they did all the works cited. And Google picked theirs. And they picked it because of this. They were impressed that kids could tell a story of a people who don't want their story told. And I was like, yeah, that's why we did it. No, all we did was share our story of where our district is. Because the project was called, I was expecting binders of stuff they were going to have us fill out. No, they give you an email. Here's the project. # why you love where you live. Go. Why I didn't think that would be as simple as that, it's Google. It's a search bar, right? Like, that's all it was. # why you love where you live. Go. Here you go. So we created it. They picked 2 schools to publish at that point in time, both from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, but they had thousands of people all over the world take part in this. So why in East Bumbleland, Lancaster County, does the top 5 tech companies and companies period in the world care about that, about us? Because they love the stories we share. This video right here I'm about ready to show is what what their CEO walked out to when they first released this. They came to Penn Manor, which is my alma mater. They came to Penn Manor, and they came to their high school. And the reason why they liked this one was because the high school, they used the ag department, the English department, the theater department, like the whole AV video stuff. Like, they cross-collaborated. It's funny because their building techs came to me and go, Dinah, we heard you're doing this. What are you doing? They're like, how are you doing this with 5th and 6th graders? Because they're like, we have no idea what to do. And I looked at them and went, what? You have high schoolers. Hand them the equipment and say, there you go. They can do it. I had to get the van. We had to drive the kids. We had to hide the kids. Like, it was, because when you do a 360 photo, folks, it takes a picture of everything. You don't want a bunch of faces all in every picture, right? You see the top of everyone's head. So we were hiding behind walls, hiding behind cars. It was crazy. So I was like, grab all these different departments, put them together, because they were like, hey, the ag kids, but their writing isn't that great. I'm like, you have an English department, go get them. So they did, and Google loved it. So here, I want to show you.
I was born and raised here in Lancaster.
What was they created?
A big farming community.
We see family farms everywhere you go.
And I think it's really cool that we have this opportunity to share our way of life.
How we're going to do this is using a new tool called Tour Creator.
It's an interactive, easy-to-use tool that allows our students to create rich 360-degree experiences.
You will see the photos that the ag department and the art department have supplied.
Add a title and description. Click on that, and then it'll bring up the street view. We can plug that into the actual tour.
It will definitely inspire me to show more of Lancaster, and hopefully it'll inspire people to do the same.
And it's wonderful that we can have our students interacting with all of these other student stories across the globe.
This is Chicago's little village neighborhood.
It's very close living quarters, very different from around here.
We were just looking at the one from Bali. Their classes are basically outside.
I really thought that was neat. Everybody's different on the way they like living.
And every place has a unique story.
So that's Tour Creator. You can go to Tour Creator, literally just type up in the URL Tour Creator, and click on the top search result. It'll take you there. We're going to go do that right now. It looks like this. And when you get there, I love Google for this reason. Whenever I send teachers, they're like, okay, now what do I do? I'm like, it's right there. Right where the search bar would be, right? Click Get Started. You click Get Started. Pops you over. Now, if you're doing this on your device and you get a little admin pop-up, you need to contact your admin, like your tech admin, and have them go into Google Admin, and all they have to do is go in their apps. They're going to make it sound like they're going to give you a hard time, probably. It's literally this. They just have to go to the little app section. You have to go over, and if you are tech admin, please just go do this. It's like, it takes you 5 seconds. And there's a little slide. Find the total one that says Tour Creator, and it's off. It's off by default. All you have to do is just click it. And it's on for everybody. Don't worry, it's not going to break any COPA laws or anything, because the last time I checked, first of all, they use Google Street View. You don't even need cameras. So if you're like, my district will never buy any of that stuff from me, you don't need a camera. They give you access to Google Street View. Last time I checked, when I went on Google Street View, Google didn't give me a right sign-off sheet to say, hey, it's okay to take pictures outside. It's not okay to take pictures inside, right? Because the things are proprietary. So we're going to take a tour here. I'm going to create a tour. So it pops up like this, and you're like, wow, that's bland. By the way, what we had to do was a lot harder. They came out with this. Everyone that took part in that beta was like, what? This is so much easier. So you can upload a cover photo. You can put in a title. But I want you guys to pay attention to something. Right here, it says 9 out of 50. They give you characters. That's 50 characters. That includes spaces. So just for time's sake, I'm going to come in here and we're going to add a scene. Now I'm going to add a scene. And here's how I add a scene. Look, Street View. Have you ever used Street View? Right? You have the little yellow guy. You can pop him wherever you want. Or you can type it in, and we're going to go to my favorite address, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, right? Everybody know who lives there? Anybody know who lives there? The president? President lives here? That's 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Dallas, Texas. There's a lot of them out there in the world, so I always like doing that. Now, you're thinking differently now, because that definitely does not look like 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue that you were trying to think. Don't judge where that is, all right? It's a nice neighborhood. So, you pop that in. You can walk down the street, because you don't like the one where it dropped you at. You can walk back. You can see where you are. You can go on the Highline. You can go anywhere you want. But once you know what it is you want, you literally click Add Scene. And then watch. Ta-da! There. Look, I can click, hold, and drag and make everyone puke. So, it's up here. That's the 360. But if you've never used Google Expeditions, or if you have, you can click these little interest points, and you can move this little guy right anywhere you want. And let's say you want to talk about the telephone pole. So you put it over here. Now, I'm going to click up here in this description area. This description box talks about this entire 360 photo. You get 500 characters, no more. That includes spaces. I love Google for this because this will challenge your students. Google wants your kids, they are tired of 400-page, 40-page, 14-page stuff. No one has time for that in Google. I want to do this for our faculty meetings. I want to put a timer, because they all have timers in their meeting rooms. They have it set for 10 minutes. At 10 minutes, as soon as that goes off, it doesn't matter who's speaking. It could be the CEO. Everyone stops, including the person talking, and they all leave. The rest of it goes in an email. Because all of you have important jobs to do. And all of you are experts in those jobs. And you don't need to sit up here and listen to me anymore. If I really want you to know it, I'll put the rest in an email. They want to move that to 7 minutes. That'd be awesome for 5 minutes. And done. Everyone would be like, looking at the clock. So, Google wants you, they're like, listen, we don't want this. It's called executive paragraphing. So they want you to get very, very condensed stuff. What's the most important thing? You can give the credits here. So if we're going to be worried about, we're excited and stuff, you can put that right here. Here's the next part. Untitled points of interest. That point of interest, that title gets 50 characters, and I can describe that point of interest if I want. I only get 300 characters here. So there's only 300 characters there. Whoa, wait a minute, that's even less. You want to challenge your high flyers? Ask them, because man, they're used to writing a lot. Do you know who does really well with this? The learning sport kids, because you know who's really good at writing a little? That was me. I'm proud ADHD. The rest of you who don't have it, I think there's something wrong with you, and I think I'm okay, right? True. Truly, I have a writing disability, and I would love this, but if I had to write 30 paragraphs, that's hard. So kids can excel in this. Think about this instead of a slide presentation. It's a great way for them to show their learning. You have this little button here. This little button here, you can pull up an image. You click on here, you can select an image. You can either select it from, if you're on a Windows page, you can pull out from anywhere. If you're on a Chrome, you can go out in the Chrome, put it in your Google Drive, it connects to it. That's how you put it in. Make sure you have that whole conversation about, copyright, all that stuff. Get labeled for reuse stuff. And then here, you have the ability to add a site narration. So the kids can read their own work that they type in, and then they can hear it back when they do a self-guided tour. Pretty cool, right?
Are those both off of the point of interest?
That's on the point of interest, and then you have it for the 360.
For the 360.
And then you can add more points of interest just by clicking this button. Folks, this is Tour Creator. Oh wait, hold on, I gotta show you one more thing, right? Because it's a lot. That's what I love about Google. If you want to add another scene, you click this add another scene. And look, it brings you right back here and you start the whole process all over again. Simple, easy, right? Now.
So you can link scene to scene?
Yeah, you can go scene to scene to scene. What's really nice about this, see this publish button? Click it, don't be afraid of it, because look, it goes, it's missing a cover photo. So because it's missing a cover photo, just for time's sake, what it does is when you open one up, and I'll open up one here that hasn't been published yet. So you can come in here and you can publish it, and when it does, it goes, see, people are afraid to hit that button because they're like, I don't know where it's going and I don't want people to see it yet. It goes nowhere, okay? It says right here, unlisted, right? You can see it unlisted, or you can make it public. If you make it public, let me tell you, no one's finding it. But you can leave it unlisted. But if you want to view it in the headset, here's how you do that. If you do have headsets, I'm going to tell you. So follow along. You grab the tablet, the teacher tablet, not the phones, the tablet. Turn all the phones on, get Expeditions up and ready, turn on the teacher tablet. In the upper left-hand corner of the teacher tablet, I call it the stacks of pancakes, the 3 lines. Google has no idea what to call that. I'm like, stacks of pancakes. That's an elementary thing. And if you click that, you'll see the account comes up. Whoever created the tour has to sign in on the teacher tablet. Once they do that, it grabs their tour from Drive instantly. They click My Tours, and now they're running, and the kids or whoever's there, admin, whoever's in the room, can now view it in the headset. Okay, so you don't have to have it published by Google to view it on the app. If you want to have your kids have it published by Google, I'm going to tell you the tips. You can do it, and I will share out the link with you then, or I'll put it in my slide stuff. Here's what you need: 6 to 8 scenes. 6 to 8 scenes and at least 4 to 6 points of interest below it, each scene. Takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get them to prove it, and then it's on the app. And when it's on the app, here's what that means. Anyone in the world can get to it just by typing it in. Ours is called New Holland, PA, the Amish way. If you type in the word donut, ours comes up. If you type in the word Amish, ours comes up. I'll show you why, real fast, why you type in the word donut. Here's ours. So I'm going to go through this like ultra fast just because of time, but I want to show you real quick. Here's the one that we created. Shady Maple, right? Who here doesn't like, yeah, lickety split, but here's the agriculture by the, oh wait, hold on, I missed the scene. In Shady Maple, we have the secret donut door. Let me pull this down for you. See, in the back of Shady Maple Market is this door that has a donut above it. And it opens an hour early before the market does. And our one elementary school is right across the street from us. So when you get out of your car in the morning, all you smell is donuts and Long Johns and frosting and something deep fried. So, why do you want to go here? Well, because at 6:30, you can't get in the store till 7:30. Here, this is open at 6 or 6:30. You can go right down in there. It dumps you in. And this is larger than Wegmans. This market is larger than Wegmans. So, you have to go, if you go through the front door, you got to go the whole way to the back for your donuts. Not in this thing. It dumps you straight down into a hallway, and you walk straight in. It dumps you right out into the cash register for the bakery. You go get your donuts, you turn around and walk back, and your car is literally parked like right here. So you can get your donuts and get out. When Google came down, that's where they went. And they stopped down. By the way, there's nothing like getting a phone call over the summer as an instructional technology coach from your boss going, "Why are Google's lawyers calling us?" And I'm like, "What did I do?" And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, and then I remembered, yeah, it was like 2 months after school had ended, and I'll get this phone call, and I'm like, That's one of the reasons why you have donuts. But if you type in donuts, you will see it. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but you can go and view it. By the way, we have kids hiding behind these vehicles. It's great. You guys can go through that later. There is a template here. This template is something, it'll force you to make a copy. But what this will do is this will give you the Google Doc template that we have the kids put in. And it tells them like, okay, introduction paragraph. Remember, this should describe that whole 360 experience, and then tell us, name that 360 picture as you're putting it together. And then all the target points. So they can put their information in here. Have them use word count, so they know how many words they have. Okay? So that's there for you. The last thing I want to leave you with is this, because folks, all of this is about technology and our work. So, hope you enjoy.
It is there if you're prepared to take advantage of it. There are thousands of occupations awaiting the workers who are qualified to fill them.
Survival is going to go not to the strongest or the most intelligent, but the most adaptable.
There are tests which will help you choose work which fits your level of capacity best.
Almost all jobs are becoming technology jobs.
We have to be more intentional about how training and education matches to actual tasks and jobs.
Many people today are working at things which were their hobbies a few years ago.
For the first time, literally, substantial and rapidly growing numbers of people will have choice.
We have to be aware of two things that are happening right now in the world of work. The first, we're realizing we're in for a much different kind of future, and we're racing to figure out how we can help individuals and businesses get ready. The second, we're starting to become highly aware that the more you push one narrow metric of success, money, growth, profit, at the expense of other life factors, the further we get from actually achieving true sustainable success. So we know the future of work will be different, and we can't keep doing things the same old way. A new way of work needs to emerge. 89% of the companies that were on the Fortune 500 list in 1955 are no longer on the list today. These are the businesses that had the most resources, the most talent, the greatest technology, the biggest network, and we've proven they rise and fall fast.
This really is the end of an era. Blockbuster will close all of its remaining stores, about 300 of them, by early January.
Well, what went wrong with Kodak? How could it have gone wrong?
It's so hard to keep up with change, and change is speeding up. So what's the next few decades gonna look like? Whether you're running a business or just running your life, that question is essential. In the last few decades, there was a shift of mind that started to define business success as one thing: money. This isn't my opinion. We can see evidence of this mindset. And the question is, has this singular focus worked out for people? Has it worked out for businesses? There's good reason to believe it hasn't. It's taken us time to understand our mistake and let it sink in. The old pursuit of work is not what's fully needed for the future. So then what is the answer? What are the real drivers of tomorrow's success, not just in business, but in life? Here's the thing. The new version of work, yes, it will be about technology, but it will also be about being human. Are you able to offer your highest potential? Can you keep learning, keep getting better, stay motivated, stay focused? The best advances in tech and the best capabilities of people coming together, that is the new version of work. Self-awareness, creativity, empathy, trust. These factors will help define your future success. We place a lot of faith in the ability for technology to make things better. My faith is also in people.
So, the reason why I show you that is because it's about where we're going for our students. How are we going to adapt for our students? If you're used to doing the same old, decide to make one change maybe even for the rest of this year, or start now and for next year. You could go halfway through in the next year. But how is it you're going to adapt? One thing you can change. Maybe it is using Expeditions. Maybe it's letting kids explore their wonders. Or maybe it's using VR Creator or getting on your tech admin, right? To turn it on at least. Like maybe that's your change and you're like, woo, I did. Feel good about yourself, right? But it's about them, not us. And if we give them the opportunity to use this stuff, they will create amazing things. And if you share it with the world, other people will notice. And they do it.